Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Attorney Tim Kohler, and I am the principal attorney here at East Carolina Law Group, located in beautiful Barco, North Carolina. This afternoon, this episode is going to be dedicated to our brave military service members who are out there every day fighting, and some dying, being wounded, and just giving up the general sacrifice of the warmth and solitude and protection of their hearth and home in defense of our rights and liberties under the Constitution. So thank you for your service. As a former service member myself and a family who has always served, I feel it's imperative to give something back. And so today, this segment is going to discuss military discipline and courts martial, as well as non-judicial punishment. And we're going to focus on the latter for this morning or for this afternoon. And the reason is because in our armed services, the necessary burden on commanders is being able to exact proper discipline among the troops and among their sailors and Marines and airmen in order to maintain fighting readiness and in order to keep the mission moving forward. And this was always something that was very important, no matter where I served. So it's kind of an unusual animal when we deal with military justice system because everybody thinks of, if you get into trouble in the military, you go to a court martial. That's not always the case. And unfortunately, all too often, things don't always go the way they're supposed to. Now, I want to talk specifically regarding deployable and seaworthy units. So we're talking about forward deployed soldiers and Marines. We're talking about sailors that are on ships and submarines and deployed forward overseas. We're talking about airmen that are installed in bases overseas and that sort of thing, and in combat-ready units. Now, the reason we're talking about these guys specifically is because in non-combat, non-deployable units, there's a right to a court-martial for service members according to the Manual for Court-Martial. However, if you're in one of these forward-deployed units, or a sea-duty unit, as we used to say when I was in the Navy, you're not entitled to a court-martial. You can request one, and I would always recommend that you do so depending on the circumstance. But when in doubt, request a court-martial. There's some reasons for that we're going to get into in just a few minutes. This is going to be a slightly longer video than my usual 3-minute bits, but you're going to get the idea. You're going to understand exactly why it is that I'm recommending this. So I would always recommend that you would always ask for a court-martial. All right? What we're going to talk about is non-judicial punishment. Non-judicial punishment is the way that military commanders will prosecute offenses against the Uniform Code of Military Justice while a unit is deployed or in a forward deployable posture. For example, if you're a U.S. Navy sailor and you're stationed aboard a ship, there is no right to a court-martial. You may request one or demand one. They don't have to grant it to you. However, the commander has the right to use non-judicial punishment, or as we used to call it, captain's mast. The Army called it something else. The Marines called it office hours. So there's different names for it, different pseudonyms, but the Navy always referred to it as captain's mast. It's non-judicial punishment. Now, some important things for you to remember when it comes to a non-judicial punishment. First of all, if you elect non-judicial punishment, meaning you're on shore duty and you're entitled to a court-martial and you elect to go forward to a non-judicial punishment, you need to be aware that, number one, that the standard of evidence is not beyond a reasonable doubt as it would be in a court-martial. Let me say that again. The standard of evidence is not beyond a reasonable doubt, but it is a preponderance of the evidence, a 50-50 balancing. All right. Second of all, biggest thing to remember is that if you go to non-judicial punishment and you are convicted of an offense, you will wear what we used to refer to as the Scarlet Letter for 3 years. It'll be flagged every time you take a promotion exam, every time you're up for orders. That's something that's going to have to be disclosed. So it's very important for you to remember before you sit down and go, oh yeah, I'm just going to take what's coming to me and just go to non-judicial punishment. Remember, there is going to be a long-term lasting effect for non-judicial punishment. And in some cases, you can lose your career. Now, let me dispel a few misnomers. When I was in the Navy, there was this misnomer that floated around that chiefs couldn't go to captain's mast. Well, let me be the first to tell you that is absolute poppycock. I had a chief within the last year that I was representing in an appeal from a non-judicial punishment. It happens. Chiefs can lose their careers. They can be kicked out of the Navy. You don't need an act of Congress. That is a wives' tale that floats around the fleet, and it needs to go away. Chiefs, you are just as susceptible to a non-judicial punishment as an E2, E1, E3, E6, E nothing. You can go to captain's mast, you can be busted, and you can lose your career. So before you go running off and saying, well, I'll get taken care of if I just admit to this, think again. It's very important to keep in mind that as our society is beginning to shift with everything from homosexual marriage to transgenderism, that the military has and will always be the social testing ground for all these different social conformities. And I say that to say that I've been around the military, I've been around the Navy in particular, my entire life. My dad's retired Navy, I served, and everybody in my family, for the most part, has served in one capacity or the other with one of the branches of the armed forces. And I can tell you, going back in my 36 years, I can remember many different instances where certain social things were trying to come about, and before they were pushed in the mainstream, they were pushed into the military to see how they would work. Now, with that being said, a lot of changes are coming down the line, and a lot of things that you held as truths about your service branch are now beginning to change dramatically. For example, when I first joined the military, and when I was around when my dad was in the Navy, my dad was retired Master Chief, the chiefs ran the ship, and your chief took care of you, and your chief looked out for you. Your chief never threw you under the bus. Your chief would always be the one, no matter if you were the biggest idiot and you got in trouble, he would stand up for you when you went to DRB. Well, let me tell you, times have changed. And I'm going to say that again. So if you're being threatened with a non-judicial punishment and you're in the military and you're in the Navy or whatever, and you think your chief, your whoever is going to stand up for you, you better think again. Because more often than not, you get tossed under the bus. And that's what's going to happen. So before you run the gauntlet and you put your career in the hands of somebody that you don't know what they're going to do, I highly advise you to double take. Think about what you're doing. I would always recommend that you seek private counsel. You hire an attorney. Many attorneys out there, like me, have served. As long as your attorney is licensed in the federal district court and has a familiarity with the manual for courts martial, your attorney is qualified and can be admitted to represent you in a court martial and can represent you in a non-judicial punishment. And it is very important. Do not wait until after you go to NJP and you're now facing the end of your career, because you may have had a stunning career up until the point of your NJP. You may have been the early promote sailor, the highest ranked, highest scored Marine. You can be the best guy ever, but you get that one thing that hits you, and it can be something minor, and you could be looking at the end of your career. So please take your career seriously. Own your career. Do not leave it in the hands of somebody that you think you can trust. Leave it in your own hands. Trust your own hands. Hire an attorney. Do not write a statement. Demand a court martial. And I would always, always, always caution you to make sure that you are respectful, that you are polite, that you follow all military decorum and bearing. But if you're ever told that you're going to get it twice as bad if you hire an attorney, you need to hire an attorney, because they're lining you up for a big boot. I want to thank everybody for tuning in with me this afternoon. I appreciate your service and your time. I appreciate your dedication to this great country. And I hope that every one of you who watches this takes this seriously, because your career is your career. But don't leave it in the hands of somebody else, because everybody watching this video who's ever served has seen that one soldier, sailor, airman, or Marine that somebody didn't like, and they put the screws to them, and before you knew it, they were out on their own and their career was done. Don't be that guy. It doesn't matter if you were the top sailor, soldier, airman, or Marine at your last command. You get to that new command and you find that one non-commissioned officer or chief that doesn't like you, you better get ready, because it could be bad. So, God bless. Thank you for your service. And if you ever need us, we're located in Barco, North Carolina. Non-judicial punishments in military cases are federal, so any of our federal attorneys can take them. I'm personally the attorney who takes a lot of these. and we'd be more than happy and willing to represent you. And we'd be happy to discuss your matter with you, and we always do our best to take care of our soldiers, sailors, airmen, and marine in terms of pricing. So you can give us a call, look us up on the web at www.currituckattorney.com. You can call us at 252-453-2273, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Be safe and take care of yourself.